So you're living through a very specific time in history. We're at a very unique moment. All moments in history are unique and have their own characteristics, but there's definitely a feeling to what it is to be alive today and be in this world today. And especially as an adult, if you've been around for a couple of decades at least, you feel the shift. And a lot of people have spent a lot of energy and effort trying to describe what this shift is, what's happening, what does it feel like to be in this shift? Where are we going? If we're coming, shift implies that you're moving from something to something. And for a while now, it's felt like we're in the middle of the shift. Like we haven't gone to where we're shifting to, but we're in this thing that everybody understands to be like a shifting reality or um, era or something. The era we're in, there was like an old era, and this place where we're kind of shifting from an old era to a new era. And like Taylor Swift has helped us understand the word era. So what is this shift? What's happening? And it's a very complex question. If you go out into the world and you're analyzing what's happening, politically, monetarily, what's happening to our monetary system, our environment, this could be, a multi-layered, several month long talk. But if we just want to go inward and what's happening for people, because people feel like even though the world's changing, I think what's happening for people is they also feel like something's shifting inside of them, that they're changing, you're changing. I think you probably know if you're here, you probably know what I'm talking about. There's something changing inside of you. You're very aware of it, but you don't know what it is. And some of the symptoms are just kind of neutral and they're neither bad nor good. Some feel a little bit negative, some of the symptoms to whatever these changes are that are happening for people. And then some feel good. And I think it's good just to kind of start to notice that people are having a lot of symptoms in common. And it's going to sound like anytime you look up a list of symptoms, I'm going to list some. You know how like when you look up headache, when you're trying to figure out what's like if you have a virus or something, and you're like, well, I have a headache and my neck hurt. You start looking at the symptoms, and then you can find like 2,000 maladies that fit those symptoms. So this is going to be a little like that, but let's keep in mind that people are more and more acutely and more urgently feeling like, what is going on? That's the feeling that people have about them, like what's going on inside of me. We could discuss the world ad nauseum, and all the things happening externally, because it definitely feels like something's going on in the world around us. But it translates internally, the internal is the external is the internal. So let's talk about you and, your own experience as a human. So there's a whole variety, and I'm not going to hit all of them. There's so many symptoms that a lot of people can identify with certain numbers of these. So some people are finding that more and more. So compared to, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, or even 2 years ago, depends on the person, but more and more you just feel like spending more quiet time. And of course, this isn't going to hit all of you. So so you don't have to have every single one of these symptoms to be feeling this weirdness, this shifting kind of thing, this paradigm shift that is happening in people, not just externally. So spending more quiet time, appreciating quiet time more than you used to. Feeling really drawn to just be in nature. That doesn't mean you have to walk out into the wilderness, 50 miles, backpacking. And it's just maybe just hanging out on your deck or your porch or just walking through your neighborhood. In anything where you're outside of your house. So nature, feeling drawn to be outside more. Um, really valuing authentic connection over just random any connection, but really starting to hone in on what is this thing called authenticity and authentic connection. Um, that's something that really appeals to people these days. And notice that these aren't like fashion trends. This is nothing you can buy. These aren't things you spend money on. Spending more quiet time, totally free. Getting into, I love these, like, I guess Zoom agrees that spending more quiet time is free. Nature, free. Authentic connection, free, doesn't have to cost anything. It's better if it doesn't. Um, feeling less judgmental than you used to feel, even a year ago, even 6 months ago. But noticing, like, I just don't judge. I don't want to spend the energy judging someone. Like, that used to bug me, and what's happening with the less judgment is, as the judgment drains away, what's filling it up and taking its place is compassion. So the reason for the dearth and judgment is that there's this compassion where you notice you start to identify with the other more than judging the other. And again, here's where some people are going to feel like, no, 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 that's not me. I've gotten more judgmental. I hate other people. And so this is where something interesting is happening, because it seems like there's a large body of humans moving in this direction that I'm talking about, this shift. And then they're going to be the people who kind of, as I go through this list, it kind of drops away. Like they're not going to be identifying with this list. And, because I do identify with this list, I don't feel any judgment toward that, but I know that some people are more and more judgmental and are happy with that, are proudly judgmental and proudly lacking compassion. They don't want to. It's something some people just don't want to participate in that. They see it as weak and wrong. And if that's you, that's where you are. You have a right to feel how you feel and want what you want. But as I go through this list, some people will be like, no. In fact, I'm going to turn this video off. So anyway, less judgmental because you're more compassionate, but also you feel very fatigued. Often you have these bouts of fatigue that just come and go, and you're like, man, I just can't, I don't have the energy. Sleep changes also can weird dysregulation in your sleep cycles may impact you from time to time. It doesn't have to be chronic or like isn't every day, but maybe over a month it's chronic, in that predictably there are going to be these times when your sleep is really disrupted. So it may not look like every day, but it may look like, yeah, on the whole, my sleep is more disrupted than it used to be. But when I do sleep, I sleep the best sleep I've ever had in my life. So it's this weird both and. It's like dysregulation of sleep and then the best sleep you've ever had when you do sleep well. Appetite changes. So this can look like a lot of things. So mostly it trends toward feeling less hungry. But just like with the sleep disorder, there are going to be times when you're ravenous, but if you really pay attention, what you notice is you're hungry for different things. So whereas you used to like bacon or steak, or birthday cake, bacon, steak, and birthday cake. Now when you're ravenously hungry, your body tells you, I just think I want, I don't know, like some guacamole. Or I'm trying to think, I don't want to, there's no right or wrong food, so I don't want to suggest that they're right or wrong foods, but it does it tends away from the hierarchy of meats and animal proteins, and tends toward more things that grow on vines, trees, roots, so it tends to be vegetables and fruits essentially. In a way, or if you used to really be a red meat eater, you've kind of, it's more like, yeah, I just want more fish, or I just gonna want more chicken. I don't really want as much, I'll still, you don't have any rules around it, maybe, like you haven't stated that you're a vegetarian, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, maybe you don't, say I need to be vegan, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it's like there's a shift. You imagine it's just kind of a slow shift away from the heavier, denser animal proteins toward lighter, brighter foods when you pay attention to what you really are craving. And again, it's not like everyone's suddenly vegan or everyone, I'm not vegan or vegetarian, but I have shifted my appetite. I don't want, I never set a rule of I must eat less meat. I never said that to myself because I don't believe in doing that. Um, because you need whatever your body needs. But I've just noticed that I just, I go to the refrigerator and I look in there and there's all, I do usually try to have a lot of protein around, and I just look at it and think, I don't want that. And I'm more inclined to eat fruits and vegetables. It's just something that's bubbling up all of its own. So maybe you've noticed something similar. The same thing with drinking or substance use. Um, and it may not be all substances, but there may be a shift from, and you can just kind of see it out in society, that a shift away from heavier alcohol use to lighter alcohol use. Paying attention to your alcohol use, even if you're not over drinking, even if you're not drinking too much, it's not a judgment call. It's more like this inner, like, I'm just not interested kind of feeling. And here's another: ears ringing, like kind of tinnitus that comes and goes more than usual. And so it's not constant, but it may come and go, this weird tinnitus thing. Weird muscle aches that come and go, like based on nothing, that you can't say this muscle hurts because yesterday I did X, Y, and Z. But sometimes weird aches and pains that just kind of resolve on their own, they come and go. Vision changes that are dramatically different. Also, moments of calm that just kind of come upon you, moments of peace. And again, they may not be long lasting, but instead of this, so here's a distinction in the shift. So the people I'm talking about who are kind of shifting in this particular way, even if you have an anxiety disorder, the tendency is toward finding these surprising moments of calm, surprising moments of clarity, calm, and peace that just seem to come out of nowhere. So that you feel, it's like, whoa, I feel so good. Moments where love, just kind of this kind of compassion, love for everybody, just bubble up out of nowhere. And it may come and go. It may not stick around forever, but you notice these moments of feeling like, oh, I just love everything, or I just feel really calm. I notice I feel really calm, even if you're known for having a serious anxiety disorder. But for everyone, you just notice, like, I just feel really calm right now. Um, a shift away from materialism. And this could still, even if you still judge yourself harshly and think, no, I'm still pretty materialistic. If you look at it with a little less judgment and a little more compassion toward, have you shifted? Have you shifted away from certain things that you used to do that were more materialistic? So you may still be buying things technically or want things, but is there a shift? Um, being less driven, maybe you still have goals, maybe you still work hard, but less quote unquote driven, like that hard, like grinding your teeth kind of driven, where you're just like, I just don't want to be like that anymore. I'm not interested in being like that. I don't have whatever it takes to be like that. I don't have. Um, Combined with that, again, there's this funny kind of yin yang kind of, I always say yang. I think it's supposed to be yang, but I always learned it when I was younger and I say yin yang. It sounds better to me, but even though it may be totally incorrect. Spurts of intense energy. So you may be having bouts of fatigue, but then when you do have energy, it's like this almost superhuman energy. bouts of intense focus and energy that you use in very focused, amazing ways, given that you felt so fatigued yesterday. Suddenly you're just like superhuman strength kind of thing. I could go on, like there are tons more, but these are ones that really stand out to me. And so are you noticing that you're a part of this shift that so many human beings are feeling? And again, not everyone, the surprising part here, because I kind of assume everybody, but I know for a fact that there are some people who just don't, they'll start listening to this list and be like, well, yes for fatigue, but no on compassion and judgment. No, I'm eating more steak than usual. So that would be pulling in a different direction. And it is like humans are kind of pulling like this, that there are some people who don't seem to be a part of this thing. And then some people who do. And again, there's no judgment here. It's just a really weird thing that's happening. And I'm not even going to talk about it. There's tons of astrological analysis you could do on this, but I think it's more important just to start to parse out how you feel. What kind of symptoms are you having? And some of these things, if your vision is dramatic, like you can't see, get to a doctor. Don't tell them I'm a part of this shift where my vision changes. No, sometimes you need medical attention, for some things, but it's more like a lot of people are having a lot of these symptoms all at once. And nothing's debilitating. I think if something is debilitating, then it, probably does need medical attention. But if you just have overall this, you relate to this list of symptoms, it's a type of sea change that some people are in and not everybody's in. And it's weird that some people would be, some people wouldn't. I have no idea why, but I mean, you can theorize all you want. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people really understand it. Some people talk about like, uh, we're vibrating at a, higher frequency, or we're ascending, or if you're deeply religious, maybe you're thinking in terms of the rapture or something. And all those things are ways people have of trying to come to grips with what this is. I don't know what it is at the end of the day. It does feel some like people as a whole are evolving in a certain way, and then some people very clearly are not. And I don't know why that would be. It's very interesting and puzzling to me, and I try not to name it or put a box around it because I want to just experience it and then notice it and observe it without trying to box it in and label it. Um, because it does seem very powerful, and I don't want to limit whatever it is, because it may be something really amazing and bigger and more wonderful than a tiny box would allow it to be. So, yeah. So how are you feeling? Do you identify with this list? Let me know. Take care.